Hi there. How is everyone? Happy New Year. I cannot believe it is another year, 2023. And I don't know about you, but it's just been racing along and I don't feel settled in at all. I feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do this whole year. I'm already thinking about what's happening for the rest of the year, which is, stop it. Enjoy the moment. But welcome, and welcome to another year of So Confident, and a welcome to another year of Facebook Lives, and lots of other things that are going on at the Sewing Workshop. We have so many things going on. It's deep in all that we're doing. So hope you'll join us and continue to join us. And we, of course, really appreciate all the support that you gave us in 2022. But it is time still to sign up for So Confident Series 12. 2023, and we are knee-deep in it already. So those of you who are already signed up, thank you very much, but you now have the pattern in your course page for the Eureka Top Pocket version, which has a new seam right here and a pocket on the inside, but you see the outline of the pocket. It has some a little vent at the side, and a little different treatment of binding on the arm's eye. So check that out. It's in your course page if you've signed up. If you still want to sign up, you will get this until this Friday. And then after January 6th, this part kind of goes away, and then of course you'll have all of the other content for the rest of the year. We are still ordering fleece, by the way, in 3 colors. We had 14 colors. And we ran out of raspberry, boysenberry, and another berry, blueberry. The 3 berries we ran out of, but I am placing an order today. So for all of you who have not received your kit, you will get it, but I am ordering. So if you're thinking about a kit to make this in fleece in one of those colors, you might want to be sure and join the So Confident today and order your kit today, and then I'll know for sure how much to order. We still have a lot of other colors, so never fear. If you just don't want a berry color, you're good to go. But if you want one of the berry colors, then I would love it if you could get your order in today. And you do get 25% off of your kit for the fleece until Friday, or until the end of Friday. So remember that. And Friday is the launch of the first video for So Confident, where we're using the Now shirt pattern and we're making it into a jacket. And this is the project. We're very excited about this. This is in feather whale corduroy, so it's very, very fine corduroy. It's almost like a soft suede, so there is a nap to it. But we've taken the Now shirt, we've added these interesting pockets that have 2 openings, real deep pockets here. We've added, changed the collar to a stand-up 2-inch high collar that also matches the width of the cuff and a bottom band. And then the sleeves have these sleeve patches that are very cool on it as well. So in the kit you get enough fabric to make any size. You get the buttons, you get thread. You do have to order your pattern, the Now and Zen shirt pattern, but you also can use that same pattern for February. So we're using the same pattern for 2 months in a row throughout the year. So there will be 12 projects, 6 patterns, and of course a new video, new project every month. Now we, over the weekend, ran out of the first round of raspberry, and maybe that was the only color, I'm not really sure, maybe all of the colors. There are 3 colors. There's a hunter green called tartan, there's a royal blue called something else, and this raspberry. And it may have shown that we were out of them, but I am ordering more corduroy. You can get a kit. They're back on the website today. This is the first day we're back working, so sorry, we all just took the day off yesterday. But you can still get those colors, so for those of you who are frustrated by that over the weekend, just know that you can now still get those colors. I'll be ordering it. It comes pretty fast. No problem there. So sorry about that. All right. That is So Confident. And you always hear about So Confident every week on Facebook Live. Never fear, even though we have this sort of special promotion going on for So Confident yearly signups by Friday, you can sign up for So Confident any day of this next year, including the last day of the year. So whenever you sign up, you always get the projects that have been previous to that, and that's no problem. You can sign up and pay the $425 by the year. You can sign up and be billed monthly at $40 a month. Those are your choices. Okay, well, you can also sign up for a single class, but financially it's not as attractive. But you can do it. So we encourage the yearly program. I can't remember when the first Q&A is, but in the next couple of weeks, we're doing a couple of Q&As where you can ask questions, anything you want to ask. I may not be able to answer everything, but they are live Q&A sessions on Zoom, and we have 2 times to choose from this year.
And we do have a deadline to sign up for the subscription. So that one is...
Oh, the subscription sign up is Friday.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So you can sign up for the yearly all year long, but if you want to pay by the month, you do have to sign up by Friday. Yeah, that's a website issue for us. It's not a choice that we've made. It's simply how our website has to work with subscription-based things. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes.
Okay. I'm standing here with the guru of our website, and I know very little. All right, so I'm one of these people who can either go to sleep really well and go to sleep really quickly, or there are times for whatever reason I don't get to sleep very well. So I have an old phone and earbuds, and I plug in my earbuds and phone sometimes, and I will listen to podcasts. And if the podcast is really interesting, then of course I really don't go to sleep. But if it's not so interesting and the voice is kind of droning on, then it puts me to sleep. So it kind of works both ways. But I did hear one over the weekend that I really loved, and it did keep me awake. So you might want to listen to it in the daytime. But I do listen to the podcast called The Moth. And I love The Moth. It's storytelling. Stories told by people like you and me all over the country at various venues that are sponsored by The Moth. And so the one that I listened to was called All Dressed Up Extras. And the very last story of that session, I think there were 5 stories, was all about Norma Jean Darden, D-A-R-D-E-N. And she's now in her 70s, but in 1973, she was one of the models in this very famous fashion show at Versailles in Paris. And it was the first time that African American models had graced the European runways. And she became very famous as a model, although she had trouble getting work after that, and she tells that story. But she also got into food and recipes. So now she's very famous for fashion and food and owns a very famous restaurant in Harlem. And I think you would enjoy her story and enjoy that series of podcasts. So today we're talking about coating, and mostly because it's January in Kansas, which means we are wearing coats. And one of my favorite coats is the Flatiron coat. It's actually named for a very famous building in New York, the Flatiron Building. And it's a building that has this interesting angle to it. And so I have on the Flatiron, which has interesting angles. Sometimes our names for patterns are so esoteric, nobody but us knows what that means, but that's why this is named the way it's named. It reminded me of that building. So I'm going to talk about the elements of the Flatiron. I'm going to talk about coatings and kind of how to sew them. But Kathy Davis made this one. Hopefully it's for me because I love this coat, and I'm thinking that you could make this in lots of different fabrics, including a rainwear if you're someone who lives in a climate and doesn't really need a coat in a coating. But you can make it in lots of different fabrics. You can make it in linen as a sort of summer, spring coat. You could make it in rainwear as a raincoat year-round. But I do love it in coating. Now, this particular fabric that I have on is really more like a sweater knit, but it's pretty stable. So it's not super stretchy, and it's not going to stretch out of shape. It has a lot of stability to it. But it is, when you look at the weave, actually a knit. So I'm going to show you a little roundup of Flatirons and talk about some of the details that you can change up on this pattern. So first of all, this is a fabric that looks good on both sides, which is important in this coat, I think. Because of this collar, you do see the right and the wrong side of this coat. So for instance, we have two versions. There's a long version, which is the coat, and a shorter version, which is the jacket. And this is the Flatiron Jacket. And you notice that this is what differs. This length of overhang is what differs between the coat and the jacket. This is shorter, more up here, and this is longer. And that is all about how much overlap there is in the coat. So on the jacket, the overlap is less, and with the coat, see, I'm wrapping clear over here. This wraps to just before the pocket starts, which is here, and this, I'm over the pocket. So because I have more wrap and more overlap, it makes these drapes longer. So you could do one or the other in each one. I mean, you could do the shorter, less overlap one on the coat, or you could do the more overlap one on the jacket. It doesn't matter, but this happens to be how it is in the patterns. This is the length of the jacket in the pattern. This is the length of the coat in the pattern. It's not a super long coat. It is a couple of inches below my knee, and it has a wide sleeve that is to the wrist. You could make that longer. In fact, I am fairly sure I asked Kathy to make this sleeve an inch longer than the pattern. So you may want to check that if you're making this coat, how long you want the sleeve, but long sleeves are of course way in, and you could make it longer and roll the cuff up as well, which I would also like the looks of, and then you would see probably the wrong side of the fabric if it was contrasting. So let me show you some coats before I get back to this one. So this is a coat that we had and made, I believe, a couple of years ago. Of course, we love the fabric, can't get the fabric anymore. But this has everything that was done on this coat is per the instructions in the pattern. So for instance, the side seams are overlapping. So it's a raw edge construction. The seam of the overlapping piece is actually cut away 5/8 of an inch, and then you use something which I'm going to show you in a minute to glue the overlap to the underlap over the seam allowance. So it makes a very flat, kind of faux flat felt seam. But all the edges of this coat are raw. The edge of the front is raw, the edge of the bottom hem is raw. There's no stitching, no turning, no serging, no binding, no anything. It's just simply the raw edge. And the pockets are raw edged as well. Big pockets, which I love for a coat, because then you have plenty of room for your gloves or mittens, your small handbag, your whatever. It also has in the pattern a back seam. And that also is a raw edge construction overlapping seam. The coat has 3 snaps, only 3 snaps. 1 here and 2 here. So it provides a little different drape. So yes, for a minute I thought it was, you know what, this one's done a little bit, no, this is correct, never mind. 3 snaps. So we'll let that siren go by. All right. So let me bring this maybe towards the camera, because when you're using a single layer of fabric and you're sewing on a large snap, you can do a decorative stitch. So this is purposely sewn so that this star-shaped crisscross of button craft thread is a decorative element on the fabric. You can do that or not do that. There are many other ways to sew on a snap, but I think this is a pretty cool way to do this. We happen to be out of these snaps at the moment in this finish, but they are on order and should be here in a week or two. So I'll let you know when they're back in stock. But I love these snaps. They're metal, they're big, they're designer, they come from Italy, and they're very cool. All right, so that is pretty much out of the package. In the guide sheet of the Flatiron, we give you a chart of which seams are cut away and which seams are not. So you don't have to really think about it too much about what you're overlapping. That's all very clear in the instructions of the pattern. But you can do this coat without that technique. If you're not a raw edge person, you don't have to be. So here's another reversible wool fabric, and we don't have this fabric anymore either. This is last year's fabric. So in this case, this has been finished with a double hem turn. So it was stay stitched about a ½ inch from the edge. That was pressed to the wrong side, and then it was turned again and stitched as you sew it. And that is all the way around, bottom hem and front edges and the bottom of the sleeve. And the pockets are turned as well. So this is a fabric that didn't have a good-looking raw edge. This is more of a woven fabric. It's not a knit like the other one and like the one I have on. So you have to make sure you have a fabric that looks good when you cut it. And even though something doesn't ravel, it still may not have a beautiful raw edge. So in that case, you're going to turn the edges. Now, to get these nice pockets with these beautiful curved edges, we have a separate pattern piece in the pattern for a template in tagboard. You can use a manila file folder, and you can actually cut out the finished shape of this pocket and then press the edges up and over. And that's how you get perfect curves. Because I don't know about you, but in the old days, before I knew about templates, I would have one beautiful curve and one not so beautiful curve. But now, because of templates and pressing over those edges, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, and this one does not have the overlapping seams. This has a more traditional seam of sewing it at 5/8 of an inch and serge finishing it with a 3-thread serger and pressing it in one direction. So this is the traditional method of sewing, and this method is also in the guide sheet. So you have a choice of a raw edge construction or this method of construction. Doesn't make any difference. Now, the one I have on has a sort of hybrid to it. Of course, Kathy can't make it just like, it says. Why would she? So she's taken the hem allowance, and instead of turning it twice, she's turned it once. So this is a raw edge, but it doesn't ravel. But I think it makes a nice sort of elevated look of a nice hefty hem to this. And she's mitered the corners. Now these miters are not in the construction, but of course we have miters all over our patterns. We also have a download Mastering Miters book that you can purchase and learn how to do these miters, or you probably have a pattern of ours that has a miter in it and you just follow those instructions. But I think that makes a beautiful corner, really much prettier than just overlapping the seam, since this is so prominent where it is. So this is a blend between raw edge and finishing the actual outer edge. The pockets are applied as all raw edge, but the top hem is turned down. So that's kind of a combination as well. She eliminated the back seam in this coat so that she didn't have to worry about matching the patterns. This was a motif on this particular knit that was more difficult to actually match. So just to eliminate having to do that in the back, that back seam is gone. And she pointed out that one of the pockets matches and one of them sort of doesn't match as well, but because of the pattern, I can't even tell you if I can see the difference here. But it was a difficult motif to match, and so she decided, frankly, not to worry too much about it. The sleeves are hemmed in the same way as the front, and the bottom hem is treated in the same way. So if you were doing overlapping seams, see what the side seams are done, I've forgotten. Side seams are overlapping raw edge seams. So at the side seams, she used sewing and craft tape to hold things in place. So this is the material that is laid down inside of the seam allowance so that when you put that overlapping piece over it, it's glued down temporarily. And this is like a double-sided piece of masking tape. I'm not sure I can even find the end here, yeah. So it does have a little paper covering, so you glue this down on the fabric first, and then you peel off the covering, which I'm never going to be able to do on camera. I could do it off camera immediately. Well, you get the idea. So this covering, and it leaves that line of tape. And you can leave it in the seam, or you can remove it before you do the second row of stitching. There's always one row of stitching next to the raw edge on the outside. You could remove this if you want to, and then sew another row of stitching and then trim the excess on the wrong side, so the seam looks the same on both sides. So that's that product, sewing and craft tape. I believe we sell it in 2 different varieties. This one is pretty standard by Dritz. We also have one that we get from Japan, and I can't remember the name of it, but I think we have both products.
No sew.
No sew, that's the name of it. Okay. But on the hems, rather than using that sort of tape, she's used the fusible web tape, which is what we use all the time. And you know what? I picked up the wrong thing. This says fusible stay tape. Ignore that. This is what it is. I went to the notions wall and pulled off the wrong product off the wall. I realize that now. So this looks like a tape, but it is a paper-covered line of glue. So you would press that on the hem allowance over the paper. Once it's glued down, the paper is removed, and what you're left with is this little line of web tape, and that is the glue. And that's just enough glue to hold it down while you top stitch. And I guarantee you, it's going to hold it so well that you're not going to have any of that torquing and pulling and stretching that happens when you're sewing hems, particularly on something like this that has a little bit of stretch to it. So this is a product that we promote and have promoted it for years. Get it from Japan. It's the best I've ever found. So you have to have that in your stash. I'm sure this is not the correct width of template, but we do use pieces of tag board, the width of a hem allowance, to press a hem over an edge so you get a nice crisp edge. I demonstrate this all the time in the videos for So Confident and other videos as well. So that's a standard thing for us. So back to this red coat. Red jacket. This is in a boucle type fabric, but notice that the sleeves and the pockets are a contrasting fabric, and they happen to be scuba fabric, which we have a few colors of, and I think that's a nice thing to think about. If you have some fabric in your stash and you're wanting to make a coat or a jacket, these elements of this don't necessarily have to match. So again, it's kind of a mix of technique. We have overlapping seams on this, raw edges on the pockets, but the hems are finished on the sleeves. So just because we tell you to do a certain thing in the guide sheet, you really have choices of your own. And that's all about the visual styling of it and the behavior of the fabric. And so you need to make samples. How am I going to deal with the seams? Make a few samples. How am I going to trim the edges? Am I into a problem here? Is my fusee web going to work? Am I using the right thread, the right needle? Do I need paper stabilizer? You work out all your problems or potential problems before you actually construct the coat, or maybe even cut it out. I have made samples before of fabric and decided I do not have enough time in my life to tame this fabric, and I've not made the project. I have put the fabric aside and moved on to something else. So don't box yourself in and try to work with something that's not behaving. Okay, we do have a tutorial on raw edge construction that you might be interested in, and it's actually making this garment, which is the Opal Jacket. So if you are interested in this technique of how to do some darts, a sleeve, which is a narrow section, how to apply a little placket, all of those are in that tutorial called Raw Edge Construction. And that'll be on sale this week. Now I have to show you another coat here that Deb just walked in with today. And I'm pretty crazy about it. Now this is not the Flatiron. This is another variation of the Now shirt. The shirt that we're using, the pattern that we're using for So Confident January. And again, it's a pattern that is so universal. You can make it long, short, heavy fabric, lightweight fabric. It's a blouse, it's a coat. But I think this is fantastic. So she's used this fabric, obviously, which is a blend of wool and a little bit of polyester. And I love the way she's used the Flatiron pocket for the pocket on the Now. And, you know, why is it on the bias? Well, 2 reasons. It looks fantastic, and I'm sure she thought about not having to match the plaids. Or maybe you don't have enough fabric to match the plaids, and this one probably she would have because it's a pretty small repeat, but you never know. You know, sometimes you just don't have enough fabric to do good matching, so you can do the bias. But she's added some buttons, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons. Actually, she doesn't have one up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons. I love the way she's done a shirt tail hem on this. I think that's a nice detail. The Flatiron has a squared off connection of the hems. This is rounded. And of course the addition of the Sherpa. So a Sherpa cuff on each sleeve. And then this is a hood, which I love. Sherpa hood, Sherpa lined hood. So I asked her what pattern she used for the hood, and she used the hood from the West End top, which I thought was brilliant. So a lot of you have made the West End pants. That's one of our best-selling pants patterns. But included in that pattern is the top, which people tend not to make as many times as the pants. So just take a re-look at the West End and the top and realize that that's a hood that you can add to other garments. And then you have to see this pocket on the back, which is a little scaled down version of the Flatiron rounded cornered pocket, which I think is so cute. And she loves labels and writing and embroidery and silk screening kinds of motifs on fabric. This is actually a little label that says fabulous. Fabulousy, actually. And I asked her where she got that, and it's someone on Etsy. And so you can find your own labels and have some fun with that as well. So I think that is just fantastic. So it's coat day. Oh, and she lined it. Forgot to tell you that, in Bemberg rayon. So it's lined as well. All right. Any questions, or you want to look at some fabric?
A few questions.
Okay.
Can you put on the Flatiron Jacket?
Sure.
The red one.
By the way, I have on brown Hudson pants with my black shoes and black top, and I really like the combination of black and brown. Also, I don't know if you can see these pants, but I took the bottom of the pants and inserted some loops in the darts and the side seams, and then ran a drawstring through the loops, and so I've kind of brought in the leg, which is a nice little detail. Okay, here's the jacket.
And what size is that one as compared to the
do you know what size this is, Erin? You made this.
I think it's a medium.
This is a medium, and I had on a small coat. So this is one size bigger. And this doesn't have any closures. It could, but it doesn't. And the back is longer than the front.
And could you do other closures besides
Absolutely.
the
You could do buttons, buttonholes. We have a pattern called the Equinox Jacket that has these fantastic bound buttonholes that are big and chunky that look good on both sides of a single layer. That would be a fantastic technique to put on this.
Is the fabric reversible? And I'm trying to figure out which fabric she's talking about.
I would say this is reversible. And if you do the overlapping seam technique, you can have a reversible coat. You might have to deal with the closures in a little different way, or pockets or something like that. But essentially the basic coat, especially if you bound the edges rather than hemmed it. Depends on what the fabric is and the colors and the contrast and all that. But if you wanted a truly reversible coat, you could bind the edges, put pockets on both sides or no pockets at all, and then it'd be totally reversible.
Do you normally line the flat iron?
I do not line the flat iron. To me, if you're going to line this coat, you're going to do a little bit of a hybrid lining technique. You're going to make two coats, and then you're going to insert the lining into a hem, and that would be an underlining process. You could do it, but I don't. Boy, I wouldn't. I'm lazy, though, you got to remember.
Do you recommend special thread to sew on the snaps?
Yes, we do, actually. There's a thread called,
You talked about button craft.
button craft thread, thank you. Any sort of button weight thread, which is heavier. Or you just use multiple strands. But I think a little heavier, especially if you're doing something that has these little star details to them and you want it to stand out, you're going to use 2 or 3, 4 strands of a heavier thread to do that.
When you're on the double fold hem or double turned hem, are the corners finished?
These are just overlapping corners, which I don't think are quite as attractive as the miters, but you can also do a miter on a double fold hem. But since these are narrower, these are just overlapped. So the neck hem was done first, and then the front hem, bottom hem was done, and then the front hem was done last. So they are overlapping at the corners.
I see a question at the bottom here. Where would I find the technique for the double-sided bound buttonholes that Linda referred to?
Those are in the, I think they're in 2 places. First of all, if you own the Equinox pattern, they're in there. But I think they're in a tutorial that we have done on buttonholes.
We have a buttonholes for knits tutorial. And then, we did something for the Equinox as well. And there was like a magenta jacket on the cover.
Right.
And I think that's where we talk about it.
Is it?
Maybe Betsy can,
Yeah,
search for a link. Maybe.
Yeah, we've done it. For sure it's in that pattern. We probably have it someplace else. We will have to find it.
Is button craft thread also suitable for shirtweight fabrics?
No, it's too heavy.
Can Linda try on the Opal, and what size is it?
This Opal is, I don't know what size, which probably means I made it, because I'm not very good about putting the labels in there, but I'm going to guess it's a medium, but I'm guessing.
I'm not sure. Is it sticking?
There we go. So you can button it or not button it. These sleeves are really long. This must have been made for Kathy. Anyway, there it is. I love this pattern, actually. I have one in a pink knit that I wear with jeans that I really love.
And there's a couple nice comments about some other flat irons that Samantha Plow made and Jan Black made, and so check out the gallery.
Okay, great.
So for those. That's all the questions I see.
Okay, great. Fabrics. So we have some coatings. Obviously, you can see that this is the coating that the flat iron that I had on is made out of, and the two sides, which is a heather gray, light heather gray. So it has grays and browns, caramels and taupes, and it's really beautiful fabric. So then these two, actually these three, are the same fabric, and they are an all wool, somewhat of what I call a Melton texture, meaning they have a definite soft nap that goes one direction, and just rich, rich colors in this cordovan color. What do we call it? Nutmeg, that's probably a better word. And this color is called crimson red. It's nice and drapey, but it's a Melton can be kind of heavy, and this is not super heavy. It's not thick like felt like some Meltons are. This is just a beautiful coating. And then who doesn't need black? I don't know, everybody. Now this is a reversible fabric, which I'm pretty crazy about. So one side is the black and white plaid, and the other side is this lime green. Now that would be fun. And I don't know, it'd be a tough call for me to know which side I was going to make, but I think I would tend to make the coat in this on the outside and let this color be the trim. You can, take those hems either way. You might experiment with that. They could go to the outside, they could go to the inside. So you could trim it in this color. This color could come over this edge perhaps, maybe. So this is kind of got my name on it. I love this fabric. We don't have tons of all these coatings, so if you're interested in these, we have a kind of a short coating season in Kansas, but so we don't order hundreds and hundreds of yards of coatings, which is why these are pretty much as they are. Well, that's not really true here, but 3 or 4 of them are just cuts that have maybe 2 or 3 pieces to them. This is one that is, I believe it's a 1-piece, 4 or 5 yard piece that we have in this gorgeous plaid. This we have a fair amount of yardage. This is interesting. This is a bulky sweater knit, but I'm pretty sure this is the right side because it has a more dramatic plaid to it and a little more raised texture. But I like the wrong side too. And if you don't really want to see, feel as bold, then that side can be used as well. I'm not really sure which is the right or the wrong side. I don't think. I probably could tell by the weave. I actually think this might be the right side, but I don't know. Use whichever side you like. All right, then this is the same fabric that Deb used. And we do have a pretty sufficient yardage of this. She talked about how she had a hard time deciding which side to use of this, even though they look the same. This has a nap, like a soft Melton, and the other side has a harder finish. And she used the softer brush side, but she thought about this, and that to have the soft side, if she had not lined it, she said she would have put the softer side on the inside where it would be more comfortable. So, again, a choice. These are pieces where we have maybe just, 1 or 2 pieces. This is a heavy textured sweater knit that either has the raised texture on one side or not. And this one, kind of the same thing. This has a brush side to it. I know Samantha used the brush side to make her coat. but you could use this side, which has more texture to it. This is like couched threads on the surface of the fabric. So one of the things that we have here that nobody even knows about, we have ultra suede. Not in a lot of colors. We have carried ultra suede in the past because we were cutting them into quarter-yard rolls so that you could use these for bag handles, pieces and parts of bags, smaller bits. And you know, if you know about ultra suede, you know it's extremely expensive. But we have some rolls of some nice neutrals that I think would make either coats. In fact, I don't know why I didn't bring up Deb's ultra suede coat, flat iron. That was pretty silly of me. She has an entire flat iron made out of this color right here that she wears all the time. Ultra suede is rainproof, waterproof. It's also washable. You can throw the coat or the garment in the washing machine and it cleans beautifully. And you can do raw edges because it slices perfectly. So her whole coat is a flat iron. And it is her favorite coat because I see it pretty much all the time. So we have those two colors. But I think ultra suede would also make beautiful sleeves and pockets, or even the binding. You know, instead of doing a double binding where you wrap an edge, all you would need would be a single layer and just wrap an edge with ultra suede. It would look like leather, it would look like real suede, it would be a beautiful trim. So you can buy this, we've opened up these 4 colors and being able to buy them by the yard. Are we still selling the quarter yard pieces? Mm-hmm. Yes, or you can buy the quarter yard pieces as well, in a lot of other colors as well. This is the upholstery weight ultra suede, which is a little more dense. It's not like it's heavier, it's just more dense. And I like it because to me, it's just a little more beautiful, a little more useful. Now, we're selling this at a really good price. Ultra suede is well over $100 a yard. And we're selling it already, we've already marked it down, and then you're going to get a discount today, even more. So, those 4 colors. Plus, we have one Sherpa that's on sale today. This is all we have left of this Sherpa, this caramel-colored Sherpa, which is what Deb used for her hood and sleeves. And so it has the Sherpa texture on one side and a beautiful suede on the other side, and that would make a fantastic jacket or coat. Okay.
Is ultra suede warm?
I asked Deb today whether her ultra suede coat was as warm as this wool one, and she said no. I think it is polyester, so there's a certain warmth factor to it, but in terms of a blizzard, no.
And what is Sherpa?
Oh, you're going to challenge me. Sherpa describes a texture that's like lamb's wool. I did a Facebook Live on Sherpa maybe a year ago or so, and I probably could go back to my notes and be a little more scientific about it. But it refers to a texture that is, it's a cut, looped, lamb's wool type texture.
What fabric is the green jacket that you have on?
This is the boucle fabric, the mix of rayon and wool boucle, which we carry in lots of colors, and we carry it year-round. And it's really where we started with this whole raw edge thing. We've been doing raw edged construction on lots of garments for years using this kind of fabric because it's perfect for it.
And Marilyn had a nice idea about doing a little video on how to sew in the snaps and the star pattern.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So I thought that was a
Kathy?
nice idea.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, actually.
We're
going to be, by the way, that does bring up the point. We did a special short targeted video about a month ago just for So Confident members. It was a benefit of being a member of So Confident. And we're going to be doing more of those throughout the year. It was very successful. We enjoyed doing it, and so we're going to be sprinkling those throughout the year. And I don't know yet whether they'll be part of So Confident or not, whatever. We haven't figured that out, but it's coming.
Which vests would you recommend for the ultra suede?
Oh, well, the peony vest would be perfect. Well, you could use the mimosa vest top.
You did the Quincy?
I did the Quincy without the sleeves, and I liked that. That was in a glazed faux leather, which means it would translate, I think, really well into the ultra suede. Yeah, make the Quincy without the sleeves.
Someone said a flat iron and ultra suede lined in Sherpa would be amazing.
Well, that's true if you want super warmth, but honestly, the wrong side of the Sherpa looks very similar to ultra suede. So if you made this as the outer part of the coat, it would look like an ultra suede coat with a Sherpa interior, and you wouldn't have to line it.
True.
But if you want super warmth and a whole different thing, then yeah, line it or color-wise, if you wanted this with one of these other colors, you could do that. Yeah.
Said you're a great model because you look great in everything.
Thank you. It's why I own a pattern collection that's designed around me. It is funny how I can wear a lot of different sizes. I don't know what that's all about. Erin has a great set of shoulders. Mine aren't bad. I think shoulders do make a difference in how you can wear clothes, I have to say.
What about the Mayfair in ultra suede?
Ooh, yeah. That would be nice.
Or combination of some of these fabrics because of the seam in the front. That would be really nice. Does Linda's green jacket have lapped seams?
Yes. Yes, this green jacket has overlapping seams. The whole thing is raw edge construction, which includes overlapping seams and raw edges.
Is the lemony yellow ultra suede available? I don't see it online. I don't know if it's reading yellow. It's not a yellow.
Yeah, these 4 are online. And this is called, I don't know, sand?
I think there was a sand.
We don't, This one is available, and maybe Betsy can tell you which one it is.
Right.
We do have other colors of ultra suede if you're interested, and we just didn't have a lot of yardage. Like we have a beautiful lime green, we have some blues. If you're interested in ultra suede, give us a call, and I'm sure we have yardage enough to make a coat or two. We just didn't have tons of yardage, so I didn't pull them out.
Can the Sherpa fabric be constructed raw edge?
Let's see here. I don't think well, this is not cut very well. The Sherpa part does kind of hang out. I don't know that I love that.
Yeah, it's not clean.
Yeah.
Okay, Marilyn asked about I think we might have answered your question, Marilyn, about the fabric being reversible. But chime in if we're not answering about the correct fabric.
Yeah, if you're talking about this one, yes. So this is reversible. All of these are reversible, but there is a different texture, and you get to choose on the solid colors. This one is reversible. All of these are reversible. Yeah. Now, ultra suede does have 2 textures. To me, it has a back and a front. So you get to choose there. But one side is very suede-like, and the other side has a slight texture to it. So there's a definite right and wrong side to ultra suede.
When does the first So Confident with the Raspberry Jacket Now pattern go online to be viewed? Is it on Friday?
It is on Friday. Yeah. Right now, what you have in your course page is all the preparation materials, which is considerable for this. There's patterns to be made, patterns to be adapted. There are things to download, some templates to download, the elbow patch, the pocket, template. There's a fair amount of getting ready. And then Friday is the launch of the actual video.
Okay, I don't see any other questions.
All right. So things on sale today are all the fabrics, including the ultra suedes, and the Flatiron coat jacket pattern. Now, is that print only?
Print and digital.
Print and digital. I've lost track of all of that. I'm so sorry to say. And one tutorial, the raw edge construction tutorial, which is making this jacket. But if you're not interested in making this jacket, the techniques work for the Flatiron. So, all right. Well, we are rolling for 2023. I hope you guys are ready to immerse yourselves in sewing. I've gotten so many emails from people who are saying, this is the year, I'm back. And I feel the same way. So welcome, and we'll see you next week.